Ralph Michaels provides Teddy Covers and myself, Dave Cokin, and even Ari Platinum, our producer, with the angles of the day. What did Ralph come up with today?
Well, if you're interested in Albert Pujols' return to St. Louis.
I think that's going to be a fun night.
I think it will, too. And here's your angle. St. Louis, 2-13, their last 15 as a dog. The LA Angels, 9-3. Their last dozen as an away favorite. It says lay the short price with the Angels. That's the angle of the day.
Edwin Diaz just struck out Jason Hayward, and the game is over. The Cubs lose at home to the New York Mets 5-4. All right, good stuff on the Angels and Cardinals. We'll talk more about that game as we head to the Friday MJ Christensen 4 at 4.
1, 2, 3 into the 4.
Put them fours up. Put the fours up, I said. Do it right now.
Tonight's action is just around the bend, and the guys want to get your night off to a great start.
4.
It's the Las Vegas Sportsline's 4 at 4.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. Unbelievable.
I was just wincing when you said the game was over, but it pushed. It was
on the total.
Yeah, total lands 9. Although it was bet up from 8.5.
I meant the game was finished.
I know, yeah.
That was bad terminology on my part. I forgot this is a gambling show.
Pushed on the close.
Can't use the word under or over unless it applies to a total. Otherwise, you have to find some other word. All right, let's check out some games tonight. And these, the Daily 4 at 4 brought to you by MJ Christensen, located at Boca Park. 81st year in business since 1939. Amazing. And they are your one-stop shop for all your jewelry needs. The Braves and Nationals. We have some really interesting games tonight because the Braves game obviously takes on added interest because the Braves will be sending Dallas Keuchel to the mound for the first time in his new uniform. He'll be going against the very tough Steven Strasburg for the Nationals, who generally doesn't have two bad starts in a row, and he's off a start that wasn't really good. I don't know what the pitch count is for Keuchel. His last start, as he was doing his form of spring training, was really not all that good. I'm not really sure what to expect here.
I'm not sold on soft tossing Keuchel against this hot hitting Nationals lineup right now. I'll tell you that flat out. And you talked about Strasburg as being a guy who doesn't tend to have back-to-back poor starts, and he got lit up last time. What do you have? 4 dingers in that game? I mean, he was not right and not happy about it. Yeah.
But it wasn't very good.
I mean, Washington is a completely different team now than they were a month ago at this time. And in many ways, they've been undervalued during this run. And I mean, not necessarily when Scherzer's on the hill, but I think it's a very reasonable price to lay, even with Atlanta. I understand that the Braves' bats are hot, but and frankly, I wouldn't argue with anyone that wants to bet over in this series. The markets have already gone there, though. The 9s are now 9.5s just about everywhere.
We have a team with some positive momentum right now. San Diego Padres opening a series at Pittsburgh against the Pirates. Finally, a good result for the Pirates, who were really scuffling, but did have a nice comeback in their last game against the Tigers 2 days ago. They had yesterday off. Pirates are very small favorites the last I checked, with Joe Musgrove on the mound against Eric Lauer for the Padres. This San Diego team has got it going on right now. They just swept the Brewers. Prior to that, they should have been swept in Colorado. But they had 2 huge ninth-inning comebacks and ended up splitting the series. So a lot of things going right for the Padres right now. I think they're a better team than the Pirates. So the pitching matchup decides this. Musgrove got out of the gate pretty well. A lot of hype, as usual, with Joe Musgrove, but he has leveled off and has not been pitching well lately. Lauer has had big troubles away from Petco.
Yeah, though, I mean, the anti-Petco numbers, when you look at them in the aggregate, you go, oh, my God. The guy's got an ERA over 7 on the road or an ERA of 2 at home. And then you look at it a little closer. He had 2 really bad starts at Coors and really bad starts at Coors, which can happen. If you take that out of the mix, all of a sudden the home road split isn't quite as great. And at the same time, that comeback win for the Pirates.
Boy, they needed that.
They needed in the war. They lost 7 in a row prior to that, and the quotes coming out of that, Trevor Williams after the game. This is the turning point. I think it's going to start coming together. I mean,
he should be drug tested immediately after that.
They're certainly talking the talk here, but You asked me which of these two teams you can make money with over the back half of the season?
I think it's got to be the Padres.
I'm with you 100%. Big move on the total in this ballgame.
Yeah.
It's open 9 to the under in some spots. Heck, I think there were some 8.5s overnight. Those are gone. 9.5 pretty much across the board right now.
Let's go to the matchup between the Rays and A's. And this one went nuts late in the game. This was a close game, and then the Rays get out to a 4-1 lead, heading to the bottom of the ninth. No Alvarado, he's out right now. And the Tampa bullpen did not have a good night. They didn't. Not a lot going right for the Rays this week. It's been a very bad week for this baseball team. Gets swept at Yankee Stadium. Blake Snell doesn't make it out of the first inning. An awful performance by him at New York. They look like, resilient Rays. They bounce back with a nice game at Oakland, and then they blow that in the bottom of the ninth. And as we mentioned earlier, not only a tough beat to swallow on the side, but a really bad beat if you had the under last night.
Yeah, and in terms of losses, I'm going to call it a soul crusher. It's June. But coming off the weekend that they had, and then, or the week that they had, I should say, and coming to the weekend, all right, let's snap out of this funk, and we just did it, and now we didn't do it. It's hard to come back the next day, and in a sense, again, Tampa, a team that has done very, very well for their backers, certainly in early season play. They've given some of it back.
Yeah, they have.
Oakland, not so much. And you say, which of these two teams are you going to be able to make money with the rest of the way? I'll take the A's over the Rays. What about you?
I don't know. I think the A's are just going to be what they are, kind of a 500 team. Because last night their bullpen was also bad last night. That was the reliable part of this A's team. Blake Trinan came into the season as one of the best relievers in baseball. His ERA is in the mid-4s now, and he's had some bad outings. There was just a lot of scoring in the ninth inning last night, that baseball game. What was it, 7 runs?
7 runs, yeah. That's what I'm saying. It was brutal if you had the under in that game.
I don't know. I think I might actually lean to the Rays. Because once they get Glasnow back, and I'm assuming Snell will be repaired, whatever's wrong with him right now will be repaired. I could suggest a few things. Use the fastball more. He's throwing it 41% of the time this year, which is ridiculously low. And stop having dinner breaks between pitches. Get the ball and throw the ball. And Snell's just, there's something is wrong.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it ties into...
Glasnow's hurt and Snell's hurt.
I think Snell's hurt, yeah.
These are teams that are heading in opposite directions right now. Oakland...
You might be right.
Oakland, I understand it was Baltimore, but Oakland has some legitimate momentum. What do they won? 7 out of 9? And Tampa, it's gone south for them a little bit.
Or maybe they just weren't as good as they played. If you look at the lineup, it's like, who? Really, and Austin Meadows is down to 303 now after hitting like 906 for the first few weeks of the season. So,
yeah, last night's
reality starting to set in.
Last night's 4-run outburst, 3 of which came in the ninth, was their third highest scoring game of the last 10.
That's not great. This is there are 2 really interesting games. One is our marquee matchup between the Astros and Yankees. The other is this one. Albert Pujols going back to St. Louis for the first time, which seems hard to believe, but it actually is the first time he's been back to St. Louis since leaving the Cardinals as a free agent. So they're going to have a packed house. They always do in St. Louis, but tonight it's going to be capacity. And the Angels coming in playing good ball, even though they got walked off by the Blue Jays last night. The Angels are playing well, and the Cardinals are not. And there's going to be a lot of Albert fans in the crowd tonight. This is going to be fun.
Yeah. These two teams played a 3-game set in 2016 in L.A.
Right.
And prior to that, it was 2013 when Pujols was still a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. So it is his first return. And this is a fun MLB card, you know what I mean?
It really is, yeah.
For baseball fans, you should enjoy it tonight. But Angels are bet on all the way right now. Bet on all the way.
Griffin Canning's been very impressive.
The lineup is hot. And last night was one of those weird games. There was a wild pitch, and then the runner ended up getting thrown out at home plate that would have tied the game. And they had a chance in the top of the ninth, and he hit a shot, and it ended up being a double play. And next thing you know, the bottom dropped out fairly quickly.
Well, and the one real
but the bullpen is a concern tonight for the Angels.
That is the biggest concern for the Angels is their bullpen. They have nobody really strong in the bullpen. Hansel Robles has been their best guy. I don't know if he can play over a full season as your stopper in the bullpen. The rest of the arms are dicey at best. But that puts them on a level with just about everybody else. And I'll put the Cardinals in that mix because for whatever reason, the Cardinals continue to insist, I guess because they paid him a lot of money and gave him a multi-year contract, they continue to insist that Andrew Miller belongs in high-leverage situations, and he doesn't. Andrew Miller's done, okay? He's done. He's not coming back from this. His slider is gone. It's lost his bite, and it's the only pitch he had anyway. It was a great slider at one time. It's just nothing now. Gives up a home run to Riddle last night. That's not exactly Babe Ruth, okay? I mean, and the Marlins ended up winning that game, which was really good for me, by the way. But this whole Cardinals team, to me, is they're overrated from the top down, which begins with Mozeliak, the GM. And this is what I mean about baseball. They never want to criticize their own. If you're a St. Louis Cardinals fan right now, can you actually say with a straight face and believe it that you think this guy's a good general manager? He's not. He's terrible. Okay, there might be worse guys out there, but they've got a clunky roster. They don't have a lot of really good prospects coming up. They're a 500 team. That's all they are. This is not a playoff caliber team.
But the one thing that does affect tonight's game for sure is that over the course of the last week, or at least certainly this week, St. Louis has been getting 6 innings consistently from their starters.
Well, that's not an automatic tonight with Michael Wacha on the mound.
Sure, but just bullpen freshness. The Angels, and Wacha was decent his last 2 outings.
His last start was bad.
Oh yeah,
really bad.
Two starts ago he was decent.
He went backwards again. He had one really good start.
Yeah, and then he got bombed by the Mets.
Yeah, preceded by one good relief appearance when he got bumped to the bullpen. They moved him back to rotation, had a good performance, and then he just got whacked last start. And and he hasn't gone. I think he's gone more than 6 once all year. So 6 innings max from Wacha. Their bullpen got used up a little bit last night.
The Angels' pen is shattered.
Yes,
and that's why they lost last night's game. And they got they had nothing on Wednesday and nothing on Thursday,
and what the Cardinals and what the Angels need to do is because of that, because their bullpen has seen a lot of work lately. We'll find out about the creative thinking of abilities of Brad Ausmus. So I can pretty much guarantee you, I can almost guarantee you, he won't do this because he's Brad Ausmus. The next time Felix Peña's turn comes up, don't use the opener. You need to start giving your bullpen guys a little break. Mm-hmm. So don't use an opener for an inning and just let Peña start the game. That's what. By the way, Toronto's doing that. Tampa's doing that tonight. Their bullpen's a little bit used up right now, so they are not going with the Stanek Beeks. They're going to start Andrew Kittredge, and as far as I know, Kittredge is going to pitch as long as he can last, which is probably going to be 5 or 6 innings. Then they'll go to the bullpen. That's why you get an outside-the-box, proactive manager like Kevin Cash, and he'll get the absolute max out of Tampa, whereas you get a kind of reactive manager in Brad Ausmus. And while the Angels are playing well and might indeed possibly be a wild card team, I wouldn't count on it being Ausmus that pushes the right buttons to get him there.
You're in the man. So I was getting criticism because we were talking about managers on a night that something else happened. I'm like, hey, managers are good discussion. And if Ausmus is worth something to the line on any given day, like he might be tonight in a game where, no DH for the Angels.
Right.
Maybe.
Actually, they've got like 3 DHs. Unfortunately, they're all playing the field. That's a concern.
Yeah, it is.
Otani's not going to be on the. He's going to be a pinch hitter tonight. And that's
when you have no bullpen and fielding issues behind you.
Still think the Angels are the right side in the game, though. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll get to our marquee matchup: Astros and Yankees next.
The Las Vegas Sports Line.
I'm with Cliff Miller from MJ Christensen at Boca Park. Cliff, I'm an old guy. I got some old jewelry. Any ideas what I can do with it?
Oh, absolutely. One of our largest categories is custom design. My son Rusty does it all. And it's the most incredible thing to see styles that are 30, 40 years old that people haven't worn in years and see what he creates out of those diamonds, precious gems, and that metal. And you will be sparkling and feel top of the world when you leave MJ Christensen.
MJ Christensen, located at Boca Park.
Dave Cokin with John Lyons from Lyons Physical Therapy. So what are the most common injuries you see in your practice?
The primary injuries that we see are general neck and back pain. That's 100% the most frequent injuries we'll see. That can be anything from wear and tear, age-related injuries. Mm-hmm. We see a lot of work-related injuries where patients